Alright, Cowboys Nation, let's dive right in because there's a lot of chatter swirling around the star about the running back room and whether Jerry Jones might have his eyes on a pretty big name to beef things up. We all know this team's ground game hasn't exactly struck fear into defenses lately, and with Ezekiel Elliott back in the fold but not quite the guy he used to be, it's got fans asking, is Zeke enough, or do the Cowboys need to make a splash? And that's where this Dalvin Cook rumor comes in. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's remember what's really at stake here. Dallas wants to finally punch through that ceiling and make a real run at the NFC Championship. No more one-and-done heartbreaks. The problem is, you can't do that if your offense is predictable and one-dimensional. We saw it last year. When the run game sputters, it all falls on Doc to play hero ball, and that's just not a sustainable recipe for January football. So yeah, adding a proven, explosive back makes sense on paper, but it's never that simple, is it? I want you to stick with me through this because we're gonna break down exactly what Dalvin Cook would bring to this offense, what it says about the front office mindset, and whether this is really the move that gets the Cowboys over the hump. And hey, while you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're pushing hard for 15,000 subscribers, and with your help, we'll get there and keep this Cowboys community growing stronger every single week. Now, let's get into the rumor that's got everyone's group chats fired up. Dalvin Cook. The talk around Dallas is that the Cowboys have at least kicked the tires on the idea of adding Cook, who's reportedly looking for a deal worth around $12 million. It's the kind of number that makes you pause, but it's also the kind of move that screams win now if you think about it. Look, Dalvin Cook isn't some washed-up name. When healthy, he's a legit top-tier back with 4 Pro Bowls and a track record of big plays that this Cowboys offense could desperately use. He's got that burst that makes defenses hesitate just long enough to open up lanes for guys like CeeDee Lamb or even keep pass rushers honest against Doc. But there's that when healthy part, and that's the catch. Cook's had his fair share of injuries, and you've gotta wonder if that's what's kept teams from jumping to throw big money his way this late in the offseason. Still, think about this pairing. Dalvin Cook with Ezekiel Elliott would be one of those classic one-two punches. Zeke can grind out those bruising third-hand shorts, while Cook hits the edge and breaks off 20-yard gains when you least expect it. Imagine defensive coordinators trying to game plan for that, especially when you add in guys like Brandon Cooks stretching the field. Suddenly, you're giving Doc a chance to do what he does best: spread the ball around, hit the play action, and keep defenses on their heels. The other side of this is that $12 million price tag. It's not chump change, and it's not like the Cowboys are rolling in free cap space. So this would mean Jerry Jones would have to move some money around, maybe cut ties with a fringe guy or restructure a deal or two. But let's be honest, when has that ever stopped him when he smells a shot at a Super Bowl window? Of course, signing Dalvin Cook isn't some magic fix-all either. He's 28, so he's not a long-term answer, but for 1 year, in a let's go all in kind of season, it makes sense if you're willing to gamble on him staying healthy and giving you that extra burst that makes playoff defenses pay attention. So here's what I want to know from you. Should the Cowboys really spend big on a vet like Dalvin Cook? Or is this just a distraction from bigger needs? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments so we can see where the fan base really stands on this one. And hey, if you're enjoying these deep dives, do me a solid, smash that like button right now so more Cowboys fans can find this channel. We're pushing for that 15,000 subscriber mark, and your support makes all the difference. So here's the thing about bringing in a high-priced veteran running back like Dalvin Cook. It sounds exciting, right? But we've got to ask ourselves, does it actually make sense when you look at the bigger picture? We've seen the Cowboys do this dance before, putting money into flashy names only to realize later they might have been better off trusting their young guys and spending those dollars elsewhere. The reality is, running back is a brutal position in today's NFL. You get banged up, you get older fast, and before you know it, you're not the same player you were just 2 seasons ago. That's the risk with someone like Cook. Sure, he's dynamic when he's fresh, but are you really gonna bet millions that his body holds up for an entire playoff run? Because once you start counting on him to be that missing piece, you'd better be ready for the downside if he goes down. Literally, then there's the other side of this debate, the young backs. The Cowboys have some intriguing guys on this roster who could grow into bigger roles if they're given the chance. Rico Dowdle's shown flashes of power and grit. Deuce Vaughn, as small as he is, can do things that throw defenses off just because they can't see him behind the line until it's too late. And then you've got rookies or practice squad guys waiting for an opportunity. Are you really gonna stunt their development just for a splashy signing? This all ties back to what the Cowboys want to be this year. If you believe this team is a player or two away from breaking through in the NFC, maybe you do make that aggressive move. But if you think the window is a little wider, and maybe it's better to develop young talent and have money to fix bigger holes down the line, then patience might actually be the smarter play. And let's not forget the cap situation. Every dollar you spend on it. Veteran RB is a dollar you're not spending on depth at linebacker, offensive line help, or even locking up key guys for the future like CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons. It all adds up, so yeah, a big signing looks good on paper, but the ripple effect can bite you down the road. I'm curious, if you were Jerry Jones right now, would you go all in on a proven vet like Cook, or would you roll the dice on the young guys and hope they surprise everyone? Drop your take in the comments. I want to see who's ready to gamble and who wants to trust the youth movement. And hey, if you're fired up about seeing how this unfolds, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. This is exactly the kind of debate we break down here every week, and your support gets us closer to our goal of 15,000 subscribers. You know, every time a rumor like this pops up, a big-name player, a splashy headline, it tells you something about where the Cowboys are mentally. Jerry Jones loves to talk about the Super Bowl window, but the question is, does he really believe it's open wide enough right now to justify these moves? Because if you're even entertaining paying Dalvin Cook $12 million, you're basically saying, yeah, we're pushing our chips to the middle of the table this year. Think about where this roster stands. You've got Dak Prescott, who's playing for a new contract and wants to prove he can be the guy in the biggest moments. You've got CeeDee Lamb turning into one of the best receivers in the league, and that defense stacked with Micah Parsons, Trevin Diggs, and some young studs who can keep you in any game. On paper, this team isn't far off, but that's just it. On paper doesn't win you a ring. If Jerry really wants to put his money where his mouth is, moves like a Dalvin Cook signing show the front office isn't content with just another playoff appearance and an early exit. It says, hey, we know the NFC is up for grabs, and we're gonna do what it takes to get over that hump. But then again, we've seen this before, haven't we? Big promises, big headlines, and sometimes they're more about selling hope than actually moving the needle on the field. You can't ignore that there's a whole chunk of Cowboys Nation that's tired of seeing the same story play out. Big talk in July, disappointment in January. So, does a move like this really change that? Or is it just Jerry being Jerry, keeping the spotlight on the star, keeping the fan base hyped, but not really solving the underlying issues that have kept this team stuck for nearly 3 decades? There's also the angle of whether the coaching staff would even use Cook the right way. Mike McCarthy has talked about wanting a more balanced attack, but when push comes to shove, you know he's gonna lean on Doc's arm in the big moments. So if you're paying that kind of money for a veteran back, you'd better be ready to commit to actually using him. Otherwise, you're just throwing cash away for a name on the roster. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you really think Jerry Jones is about to go all in and push this roster over the top? Or is this just another offseason rumor to keep us talking until week 1? Hit the comments with your take because I know Cowboys Nation has some strong opinions about this front office. And hey, if you're one of those die-hard fans who's tired of the same old story, do me a favor, share this video with another Cowboys fan. Let's get more people in on this conversation, more people subscribing, and more people helping us hit that 15,000 subscriber goal. We're building a real community here, and it's only getting bigger with your help. So here we are, staring down the rest of the off-season with this big question mark hanging over the running back room. Whether or not the Cowboys actually pull the trigger on Dalvin Cook, the conversation itself says a lot. It says this front office knows the ground game is still a work in progress, and it says they're not fully convinced that what's in place right now is enough to finally break through in the playoffs. And you know what? Maybe that's fair. We've seen what happens when this offense gets one-dimensional. It puts way too much pressure on Doc to be perfect every Sunday. And when the running game's clicking, everything else just opens up. Play action works better, the offensive line doesn't have to hold blocks forever, and the defense stays fresher because you can actually control the clock. That's why a move like Dalvin Cook feels tempting. It's the kind of boost that could flip a close playoff game when it matters most. But at the same time, it's a gamble, plain and simple. There's no guarantee Cook stays healthy. There's no guarantee he fits right in and doesn't take valuable snaps from younger guys who might be ready to break out if given the chance. So if this deal never happens, and let's be honest, it might not, the Cowboys still have to make a choice. They can't just sit on their hands and hope Zeke turns back the clock or that a couple of young backs suddenly become all-pros overnight. They need to get creative, mix in different looks, and play to the strengths of the guys they have right now. You can almost feel that this fan base is holding its breath, wanting to believe Jerry's gonna make the big move, but not wanting to get burned by the hype again. And I get it, we all want to see that star back on top. It's been too long since we've felt that true contender energy deep into January, and adding one more difference maker could be what gets us there. But sometimes the right move isn't the biggest splash. It's trusting the guys you've got and making sure you've got the depth to handle whatever this long, brutal NFL season throws at you. So here's my final question for you. If Dalvin Cook isn't the answer, who is, or is the answer already on the roster? Do you believe this team can run the ball well enough with Zeke, Dowdle, Deuce, and whoever else steps up? Let's get real in the comments. I want your unfiltered thoughts on this because you know this front office is listening to the pulse of Cowboys Nation, whether they admit it or not. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want to ride with me through every rumor, trade buzz, and game recap this season, hit that subscribe button right now. We're so close to that 15,000 subscriber mark, and with your help, we'll get there in no time. Don't forget to like this video too. It really helps more Cowboys fans find us and join the conversation. Alright, that's it for now. Let's see what happens next, and you can bet I'll be right here to break it all down for you. Keep those comments coming, keep the faith, and I'll catch you in the next one. Go Cowboys!